Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. So, you guys get on in here, all right? Let's talk Snowfall. This is a review for Snowfall, all right? This episode was called Lions. This is season 5, episode 3. And we basically have Teddy gathering with Louie, Jerome, Peaches, Leon, and he's getting them all up to date what went down with Teddy, right? The fact that Teddy is back, the fact that he don't know where Grady is at, he got to sell his house. He tried going there, he's tried calling him, he's not getting no kind of responses. They like, well, do we think that Teddy killed him? And he's just like, listen, it could be one way or the other. If the CIA tells you that you gotta go, then you gotta go. You know what I mean? It's not nothing you could really do about it because, Louis was basically like, do you really think he would just jump up and leave, not contact you, call you, or nothing? And he got investments and all of this too. And Franklin was like, I don't know. Do I think he could have killed him? Yeah, absolutely. You have Leon saying, yeah, I believe he killed him because Teddy would be jealous of the fact that you two was actually able to work together. Seemed like y'all was cool and y'all on one accord. And of course, he wouldn't want that, which Leon is 110% right when he's saying that, okay? And so, of course, Louis is even saying, did you get to ask him about his father, and what he did with him and what happened to him? And we know that, you know, that wasn't no accident, but we still don't know exactly what happened to him, right? And so Franklin kind of said, look, he was in a whole bunch of mess. He knew what time it was and things could happen. And he's like, well, no, he really didn't get to speak to him because he caught him off guard. He wasn't even expecting him to show up or to have to deal with him again. And so now that is another one of our questions answered because they do all obviously know that something happened with Alton and they do have an idea that Teddy behind has something to do with it. We also have her asking what happened with the price cut that they were supposed to get. Did he get to talk to him about that? And he's like, right now he's saying the prices is going to stay the same. And she's like, well, that's going to mess up her thing. She done told people, that it was going to be a certain price. He's not keeping it with the agreement that Grady had gave them. And he was like, I don't know what to tell you. And she was saying, well, maybe let me have a sit down with him. Let me have him ride through so he could see what we talking about. And he don't think that we just bull crapping. And he's like, oh yeah, you just riding with him is going to fix everything. He's like, no, that's not going to do anything. Okay, I'll talk to him. And so, of course, they're not really agreeing, when it comes to that. And she's frustrated saying she made promises and Franklin is telling her, well, you going to have to break them. And she was like, let him see how the Colombians got everything screwed up. And, he's like, look, none of that is going to make a difference to Teddy. Which is not. He's not lying when he says that. And so, now with Teddy around is not the time to be calling off business and to give anything extra. He got to see what's what. And he was like, any other information he will keep them updated with. And then he go ahead and leave. And so we have Louie and them waiting for, a meetup with Scully's men because now they've been working with Scully, okay? After everything that they've been through, their minds are still working with Scully and making deals with him. And of course, this is who they told that stuff was going to be one price. And so when his man shows up, at first they like, oh, what's up? And, ain't nothing, ain't no problems. I'm trying to be like you and you doing it big and all this and that. But then they have to tell them because he's like, oh, my favorite people, And they like, okay, you looking well, mellow, and everybody giving compliments. And so they like, well, we not going to be able to keep the deal. We didn't have no choice in this, all right? We couldn't get that price cut. And then Mellow's like, damn, man. And she was like, for that, I really do apologize. I thought we was going to be able to do it, but we can't. And he was like, look, it ain't up to us, you know what I'm saying? You know how it goes with Scully, This is not going to be good. It's going to get ugly as far as he's concerned. And he was like, I'm just not the one in charge. So you guys got to make that call and y'all got to see what he going to say. I don't know how he's going to react because I'm going to tell y'all, he ain't the same no more. You know what I mean? And he have his good days and he have his bad days, all right? And so, They just trying to say, look, um, there's nothing we could do about it. So they was like, okay, well, he gonna go ahead and tell him what they said, and I guess if they got time, then they gotta go ahead and hope and pray for a good one. And they leave. So I'm like, oh Lord, now Louis and Jerome is just like literally history repeating it. So it's kind of like you doing the same thing but expecting a different outcome. So I'm like, I don't know what y'all doing there. And then we have, Franklin in the office. He's basically on a call, telling somebody to send an invoice about business. When he hangs up with them, he's talking to his girl, and he lets her know and gives her an update as well on the fact that Teddy is back. He tells her at first that they're going to have to go ahead and sell Grady's house. And at first she was like, oh, okay, yeah, I knew that would happen one day, and was laughing about it and saying, how that was like a house for a celebrity or whatever the case may be. And she also was giving him paperwork, and he was saying that he was going to go through it tonight and finish it up by tomorrow. And he was telling her he needs her to do something else, which was basically putting Grady's house on the market. And so, of course, since he brought that up, he had to go ahead and let her know that, Teddy's back. And she's like, Teddy, and then he's like, Reed. And she was like, what? Because he's like, he's out, and Teddy's back in. And she was like, I thought you, didn't have to deal with him anymore. And Franklin was like, I thought I wasn't going to have to, but I was wrong, okay? In this case, I was wrong. And she's like, well, when did you find this out? And he's like, last night. And so, of course, this shifts everything, and this puts them in a different place as well, okay? And, she was like, did you get to ask about your dad? And he's basically like, no, it caught me a little off guard. And she says, that definitely wasn't an accident. So again, I'm very curious as to what exactly happened to his dad. They still aren't really letting us know anything direct. And so she tells him she's not a mind reader. He needs to let her know what he's feeling right now. And he was like, I think as long as Teddy's here, he has my back. And she was like, well, I didn't ask how you felt. I asked what you thought. And he was like, I don't know right now, babe. I really can't give you an answer on that right now. All I know is that he needs me, and as long as I'm making money, we good. And so for right now, he's going with that. And there's not really, too much else that he could tell her about it. And so, you have Jerome and Louis. They there at the club. Jerome is bringing up some, liquor and saying he had time, and Louis getting a beat from somebody, a page for somebody. So when she calls back, Skelly Man is basically telling her like, today is definitely a bad day. And she's like, how bad? And he's like, Tiana B Day is tomorrow bad. And she was like, oh Lord, And so you see that Scully basically have some guy on the floor and have a damn sword to him, okay? A sword to his neck. And, he's saying he'd like to see you now to Louis, and basically hangs up the phone on her. And so they go over there to see Scully at his place, and Scully there, like I said, with this sword to the guy. And the guy talking about, oh, I wasn't saying nothing. I didn't do nothing. That was those other dudes out there. And Scully basically chops this boy ear clean off, like it wasn't nothing, all right, with his samurai sword, and then told him to clean up all the damn blood off the floor. So Scully is basically still Scully, okay? We see that nothing has changed. And he's saying to Louis and Jerome, when you make a promise, you basically supposed to keep it. If we were supposed to have an agreement, that's what it's supposed to be. Loyalty is everything. Again, they're telling him they didn't have any control over this. This was not something that was in, that they had power over, whatever the case may be. And he's like, no, you said it was going to be 10 keys. That's what we needed to be, 10 G's for a key. And that's what we agreed to, and that's what you're getting. And Louis essentially tells him, like, okay, and when they leave out of there and go downstairs, Louis and Jerome are talking, and they singing how they're in business with a madman. And I'm like, y'all knew that already. Like, I'm really shocked that, they're even still dealing with him after everything that they went through. So they making it seem like if this is supposed to be news, that Scully is a damn madman. Everybody knows that already. And they also are peeping that, his little side man Mello seems like he thirsty, like he might want to step up and end up taking over the business, like he would probably be willing to, stab Scully in the back. So they like, we gonna go ahead and look into that and see how we could use that to our advantage, or whatever the case may be. We have Teddy go into his office, and when he get in the office, we seeing that his liquor there, his coke there in the drawer. He's taking the picture down. I believe that was of his brother and him, and throwing that in a box. And just everything that he was into before is basically still there. And I guess that's supposed to be a reminder. And he's just sitting there in the dark. We don't know what's going through, his crazy ass mind at that time. And so Jerome and Louie actually go and talk to the shooters, right? The two females that they had. They show up and are waiting outside the school while the girls are taking, their kids to school. And they're like, okay, what's going on? Why y'all coming over here bothering us now? What's happening? And they basically, start to ask them, do they know the guy Mello that's always with Scully? And they saying they need some words put in his ear. Can they do it, or do they know somebody that can do it? And they tell them, yeah, Puff the Magic Dragon. And then one of the girls actually turns around and ends up apologizing to Louie, saying, I'm sorry. I know this don't mean nothing now, but I'm sorry that I shot you. And I'm glad that you made it, okay? And so Jerome is still kind of upset, like, here it is, they still on the payroll or whatever through Franklin, and it's okay for them to be around after what they did to you. And Louie at one point was saying, let me find out you more mad about that than me. But I'm like, y'all have an issue with that, which I would have an issue with it too, but I just find it interesting that he has an issue with that, but not with them still working with Scully. We then have Teddy and Franklin meet up. At first he's talking about, of course, the price thing. He brings that up again. Teddy is not budging on the price. He's like, basically, the price is what it is. It's not a problem with the price, he says. It's a problem that you have been a middleman in your organization. And the fact that, him and Louie and Jerome basically split. He's saying that this problem is coming from them and that he needs to get his house in order, and he's not going to speak on the price thing again right now. So he's like, is that what you really wanted to bring me out here to talk about, or was there some other stuff on your mind? And Franklin is like, yeah, actually it is. So Franklin basically was like, yo, you really gonna make me ask? You really gonna make me ask, okay? Because Franklin want to know what we all want to know, all right? What the hell he did with Alton, okay? What is the truth at this point? And so Teddy just basically sits there and lies dead in his face. And of course Franklin knows he's lying. He's talking about, listen, I don't know what happened with Alton. He actually did a lot of stuff. He was talking a lot. It could have been any of the organizations that possibly could have came after him. And on top of him talking a lot, he already had certain enemies even before that because of him being a Black Panther. I swear to you, I didn't have anything to do with what happened to your father's death. I really wish, or what happened to your father. He was saying the truth is I have no idea what happened to him. He went after the CIA, like he said. I said he pissed off a lot of people. He was like, this could be above my pay grade. So, Franklin is like, so you're saying the CIA or one of them came in and kidnapped him or killed him, and then Teddy talking about, from the minute your parents touched down in Cuba, he put himself in danger. Like I said, that could have been anybody. I can't even confirm that it was the CIA. At the end of the day, it could have also been, who he was saying, he could have been targeted by a number of intelligence agencies. It could have been the DGI, the KGB. I'm like, boy, if you don't get the hell out of here. And of course, like I said, they were saying he's tried to say he was a high value target. And so he was like, oh, and you wouldn't turn him in. And he's like, no, but if he resisted and he didn't cooperate, and things got out of hand, then anything could happen, And so I'm just like, come on, Teddy, at least be a man enough to freaking say what you did. But okay, we gonna play the game. And so, he's telling Franklin, I know how hard this must be. You spend a lot of time hating him, then you spend time getting to know him again and building a relationship with him, and then he betrays you with so much back and forth and in and out, and then this. And he's trying to act like he cares about Teddy when we all know, Franklin, when we all know he don't give a damn. And so he said whatever happened to his father, he had nothing to do with it. And Franklin just was like, oh, okay. And so, Teddy is like anything else, and he's like, no. And then he was like, as a matter of fact, you can do me a favor, though. As far as you, like, popping up to my place's business, popping up to my house, if we don't have a meeting, we don't have nothing scheduled, I don't know that you supposed to be coming, I'm not expecting you, don't do that, okay? And so Teddy basically says, okay. Then he says, oh, by the way, I got some ducks in a row for tonight. You and Gustavo are going to meet for an exchange, same as ever. And so Franklin basically says, okay to that. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, Teddy, whatever. And so, we then had, excuse me, y'all, I'm sorry. We then had Gustavo come into the office. At first Teddy was about to reach for his gun, but then he sees that it's him. He asked him how they go with the Colombians, and he's basically like, went like it was supposed to. And he was like, so listen, I got a few things that I got to go take care of tonight. So if you good, drop Franklin without me. And so Gustavo was like, okay, got you. And so basically, he go ahead about his business or whatever. And so, we have Mello in the strip club, right? He's with this big knot. He's throwing money. This is the girl that the shooters basically set up to get in his head and see what's what at the strip club. So she's like, oh, I heard, you the side guy, you the second in command for the big dog and stuff like that. And he was like, man, I don't work for nobody. I ain't the side of nobody. And then he grabs her by her neck like, what's really going on? What are you doing here? Because they were saying how she usually don't come and just be for certain nights. And she was like, well, I seen a big baller was here, so I basically came out for you and all that different kind of stuff. And he tells her to strip off all her clothes, and she's like, oh no, they don't let us do that. And he basically, like I said, showed her that big knot. And then she went ahead and did it. So when the shooters come in the back to talk to her, she was like, yeah, he definitely, feeling himself because he gave me $2,000 just to get naked. And then she was asking them for money too, saying she don't normally come out on Tuesdays. And they was like, girl, so you welcome because you already made your damn money. And the other lady was like, these young, bitches is ungrateful. And so then we have Peaches there, sniffing and coughing. And I'm noticing that every time they showing Peaches from episode 1, he's had this sniff. At first, a lot of people was basically saying they think Peaches is on that stuff. At the end of the day, he was saying to Franklin that he has some type of summer cold. To be honest, I think Peaches may have the virus, okay? I think they might be getting ready to shine a light on that. You figure that was something that started happening in the 80s too, along with the crack epidemic. A lot of people didn't know what it was at the time. They would just assume that they just had a cold. And it makes sense to me that they would probably bring that into the story some kind of way, because we do know that Snowfall mixes in fact with fiction. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they are doing at all. When he initially just was sniffing, I was thinking like, yeah, maybe he could have a habit. But when he started coughing and just the fact that he was saying it was like a summer cold and all that, it reminded me that it could possibly be that as well too. I don't know. We shall see. But he was like wiping his hand, his nose with his hand, and then trying to shake Franklin's hand afterwards, because Franklin was like, man, you not feeling well. I got it. I can handle this by myself. You just go ahead and rest. And he was like, no, I'm good. I'm going to be with you. And Franklin told him no, because I don't want you to get me sick. And then I go back home and get, basically his girl and the baby sick. And so when Franklin went to try to, when Peaches tried to reach for Franklin hand, he like, nah, homie, I'm good. Like, you just had that damn thing all over your nose and whatever, so I don't want you to get me sick. So he went ahead and left. Then, of course, we having Gustavo and Franklin meet. Remember, Teddy had told him that he had all the ducks set in a row, and he had also told Gustavo that he was going to be meeting Franklin by himself tonight because he supposedly has something else to do. And so at this point, when he meets up with Gustavo, he's telling him, he's by himself, or whatever, because Peaches didn't come with him. And he's like, yeah, I thought that us two would just go ahead and, be able to spend quality time together or whatever the case may be. And they go ahead to, go handle their stuff. And, basically Franklin was just telling him to feel better. And so, when they meet, Franklin is asking Gustavo, did he know he was coming back? And he was like, what about Grady? Do you know anything about that? And so he was like, he ain't tell me anything, and he don't know nothing any either. And so Franklin is telling him, look, I don't want to cause any problems, but Grady had ties here, business and personal, so it's just weird to me that he would up and disappear just like that. And he was like, shit don't make no sense. You know what I'm saying? Which it don't. Okay, everybody knows 1 + 1 is 2. And so at the end of the day, he's like, forget it. Don't worry about it. Grady was a clown, right? And it could be any number of reasons why anything could be happening in this circus. So the whole time, of course, he was like saying, shit, me personally, I'm glad Teddy back, get us to doing business the right way, right? And he like, see you next week also. So of course, when they show, this boy Teddy basically had them do this meet and had everything set up and is listening and watching them the whole time. So again, Freddie ain't no fool. He caught on to the game and he's like, okay. So, we got Louie coming back to her bar and we have the girl, telling her, Shell, I think her name is, she like, look, he's in the back, she trying to give her the warning. And apparently, Officer Bo is back here in her office cooking and everything, talking about, you ready for a taste? Come on in. This is like a taste of home. There's a family recipe, but there's a couple ingredients that's missing. And so she like, yo, Buckley, this is my office, okay? I need you to really respect that. And then he's like, yeah, no problem, okay. I don't know what the hell it was, but it looked like it was damn dog food when he held that spoon up. He's staring. So she was like, oh, what's missing? Some of the ingredients. And he talking about lard or whatever, and that it was his father's recipe. And he was like, oh, I never told you about him. He was a giant and he was in the Negro Leagues. And he gave up after my sister's coming home. And, he gave up a lot after that. And so basically, Louis says, ain't that what, people do when they grow up or whatever? They give up a lot of stuff. And so he talking about no, giving up makes it wild. And then, of course, Jerome comes up. He looking like, and then he gonna talk about some Jerome saying, how you doing? And Jerome was like, it's your world, nigga. And so, Louis says to him, why don't she have Shell come up and keep him company while she go ahead and take care of her business? And he like, yeah, you could do that. Shell is always a good time. And so Louis goes down and it's basically, the shooters coming back to see her again, giving them an update on what happened with, the stripper and what she told them or whatever. And say they like, oh, okay, it's exactly what we thought. All right. And we could go ahead and set up this plan. And so you have Mello meet up with them again. And now this time he's set up the meet and he's trying to tell them that Scully wants to kill them, that he got a plan to take them out, that he's supposed to be going the next day to see this psychic for his daughter's birthday or whatever the case may be. And they like, oh, okay, well then, go ahead and take him out or whatever. We can't do it. It looks better coming from you. And he's saying, no, he can't do it because he can't be the one to take the king out and get the crown or whatever. So if anything, they have to set it up for them to work together. He tells them where he's at. And they the ones that pull the trigger, right? And so I'm like, y'all about to try to set up Scully again? Y'all about to try to kill this man again? Like, come on, how many times we gonna do this one, right? And I keep thinking in my head, like, this is not gonna go as planned, but we shall see. And so nonetheless, Franklin ends up going and taking this chick to see the property, right? But it's the same property that him and Gustavo actually met at the previous night. And so she's like, yo, when I told you I wanted to go see a damn property, I wasn't talking about no abandoned buildings, okay? I ain't trying to go up in no damn abandoned building. And this ain't like the white people in the movies. I'm like, I hear you, sis. So he's like, just be careful, watch out if you see anything that's funny. then shoot it, you know what I mean? And he got ahead to walk in there and look around and see what's going on. And sure enough, when he get all the way to the top, he's able to look out and of course see the view, see exactly where, him and Gustavo was standing at where they had the stuff parked at. And he could see some things that of course Teddy had left behind, from when he was there listening to them, and he's like, oh, okay, yeah, I see you. You trying to play games, all right? Like, gotcha. And so I'm like, Teddy think he too damn smart for his own daggone good, for real, for real. And so, you have Louie and Jerome go to the psychic. You have Louie knock at the door. The psychic opens up and say, oh no, not today. Today is not a good day. Louie ends up giving her a wad of money and pushing her way in like, oh yes, today's a good day, all right. And so they're already inside waiting on Scully. When Scully does get there, he's sitting outside for a minute, combing his hair back. He all dressed down in a suit. So he goes and knocks at the door, and then he's asking her if they good. And she's like telling him to come in or whatever. And when he comes in, of course, Louie and Jerome are walking out with their guns pointing. He's like, yo, I knew y'all was some possums. I knew I couldn't trust y'all. I knew it all the time. And one thing I do give Scully is he do be getting his feelings, and his feelings, don't be wrong. But they come out and they tell him, look, we don't want to do this, but at the end of the day, if it's us or you, we gonna choose you, okay? Like, don't get it twisted. Your mans came and told us how you was trying to set us up, and that you wanted to get us or whatever the case may be. And if it come down to that, we gonna get you first. And so we don't never actually see them kill Scully. But when Mello does show back up to the club, they're telling him it's handled. He's like, well, I'm going to need some proof. He go ahead and throw the bag of money down on the floor. And so they give him this key, and he's like, oh, okay, I got the keys to the castle. He like, all right, pour out some for the dead homies. You know what I'm saying? We good. As soon as he say that, here comes Scully walking out from the side. And he's like, oh, man, now, the guy talking about something. Now, come on, Scully. You know me. She had already came to me. This was their whole plan. And he don't even let him finish. He grabs him, yokes him up, and basically cracks his neck, breaks his neck. And that was the end of Mello, okay? He was in and out of here quick. And so Scully stands up after he finished cracking his neck. And basically they all just looking at each other. And he was like, start singing his through God we shall do violently. And so he was like, for it is he. And that shall, trample down on our enemies. And so he basically, says, and you too, you unfunny ass ninja. He was like, get them out of here. Take them all back to the white room, okay? I want to test it out. And so, of course, he about to get in they behinds. And so he turns back around to Louie and Jerome and them, and was basically, saying to them, it's a cold game we in. And so, he was like, Payne had me doubt your loyalty. And he said, why didn't you take the shot? And then Louis tells him, like you said, it is a cold game, but somehow we found warmth in that hospital. And so, in some kind of way, these people have a daggone connection, I guess, because of the trauma that they both went through. And they pick up the chain that they had gave, to Mello and give it back to him. And they said, and you're right, and him and Jerome basically, palm hands. And he was like, we are our own persons, or whatever the case may be. And Scully says, ain't no condition in us. And so, you let that angel be a reminder to you of that, And so, obviously, they have an understanding, all right? And when he's walking out, they basically was like, what do you want us to do with this money? And he was like, keep it. I don't want that juju on me. And he also said they was going back to the original. He also said they was going back to the original price. So, like I said, I guess they cool as far as that goes. We had Wanda come in asking Franklin for a job. She's just basically telling him how she used to fix people's washing machines. She used to do a lot of handiwork. She worked with her father growing up. And so he was like, Wanda, are you asking me for a job? And she was like, yes, I need to do something. I can't be, nickel and diamond and scraping to get by. I need something that's steady. And so he tells her yes. She gives him a big hug and was like, thank you. Take your time. But don't, take too long or whatever the case may be. So I'm like, okay, I got you. Go ahead, Wanda. She's looking much better, and I really hope that she do hang in there. We then had Louie and Jerome and Franklin meeting. She again is asking about the money situation with Teddy. And at this point, Franklin is frustrated, alright? Because now he knows that Teddy can't be trusted. I mean, he already knew that, but he kind of confirmed it even more, right? He's stressed out too. So this was something that needed to happen. And it was a talk that needed to happen. It was an explosion that needed to happen. Because at the end of the day, Franklin did let them go off on their own. When Louie said she wanted her own thing, he didn't want her to have her own thing. But he was like, okay, cool. And so when she's bringing up the money thing again, he's like, look, I'm tired of talking about this money. At the end of the day, the price is not going to change. He's like, you want the real? He's like, Teddy basically told me that it wasn't going to change and that you guys are the problem. It's the fact that y'all went y'all separate ways and that we're doing two different things. That reason why all of this is happening with the price thing. He's saying he's not going to change it. So he was like, come back home. He was like, if you come back, I can even do 50-50 straight down the middle. Louis is basically telling him, no, I don't want to work underneath you. I don't want to work underneath anybody. I don't want what you doing having an effect on me and my business and what happens to me in my life. And so he was like, what exactly do you want? Because at this point, he's right. And I gave y'all a chance. I did what y'all wanted as long as I could. I tried the little experiment, but it's not working, And he's, like I said, he told him he would split it 50-50. That's the best he could do. One operation under one roof. And so he was like, I don't know what else you want from me. And so at this point, Teddy, Lord Jesus. Franklin is like, is that it? He was like, you swear you so much smarter than everybody else. I'm getting tired of this. And so, Jerome says lions fighting, and he was like, why don't you handle it then? Why don't you get it out? And then Franklin goes, boom, that's right. He was like, because it wasn't Jerome that wanted to break away. It was you. It's always been you. And I didn't give you no problems because I knew how traumatic shit was and the fact that you had got shot. And then Jerome is like, you let it go. And he was like, yeah, I let it go. And so Jerome is basically like, yeah, that's right. Pfeiffer, he was like, you talking out your neck, boy. And he was like, am I? He said, well, uncle, please enlighten me. Tell me what she wants. You know her. She's, your woman. He was like, no, you ask her yourself then. And he was like, well, what would you like, Queen Louis? Please tell me what's going to make you happy. He was like, because nothing seems to do it for you. And she was like, well, like I said, not being under your thumb, nephew. And he was like, well, I hate to break it to you. Everybody's got to answer to somebody, even me. I got to answer to the man that made my father disappear. And he will do all of that to the same thing to us. So if I got to do everything I got to do to stay alive long enough to enjoy what I made, that's what I'm going to do. I don't give a damn what's going on. Y'all want out fine, but I'm going to do what I got to do because ain't nobody going to mess with me and mine. And I promise you that that there's nothing I'm not prepared to do. And I have to say, listen, I understood where Louis was coming from, but at the end of the day, Franklin ain't speak nothing but facts. Okay, so now they got to think about that. And basically, Louis and Jerome are looking at each other. And that was how the episode ended, y'all. I guess we shall see what they decide to do. So what did y'all think about this episode, y'all? What y'all think? Which direction y'all think? Lou and Jerome gonna have to go into. What do you think, Teddy's end game is with all of this? Do you think we can trust Franklin's baby mama? Because I'm kind of giving her the side eye. We don't really know her yet, so I don't know if we could trust her or not. Put it all in the comments. Let's discuss. Okay, like, share, comment, subscribe. Till next time.